Joe in real life. Squat every day, 127 or 26, I'm not sure. I'll check in a minute. Look what I'm drinking. Tea. I ran out of coffee. I went to the store yesterday to get coffee. I got a bunch of stuff, not one of which was coffee. I'm pretty annoyed, most of it myself. It's English breakfast tea and it's delicious, but I'm still annoyed. I feel a lot better today, but I don't feel great. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think heavy front squat, maybe a variation. Um, I do like the goblet squat. That was fun too. We'll see what happens. I'm just gonna go touch my weights. I'm gonna stretch out, warm up, touch my weights, see what the body has to offer me today. That's it. It's hey, welcome to my new subscribers. I got quite a few of you last night. Welcome. I'm normally much more lively than this. Um, uh, yeah, sick, but you're squatting every day, as in the title. I don't know. It doesn't really care if you're sick. So that's the thing. That's the thing that's happening. Stay tuned. So, first order of business before I forget. Last night, I got 200 subscribers. And man, thank you so much. Like, for everyone that's been following along and everyone that just joined last night. YouTube is so weird. And honestly, I both want a lot of subscribers and don't care about it at the same time. It's one of those situations where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Like, it's a silly metric and it doesn't really matter. But I do know it took me over 10 months to get to 100 subscribers and a little under 3 weeks to get the next 100. And that must be the algorithm everyone's complaining about. I don't know. I'm doing this for fun. I have no ambitions to become an influencer. So, thanks. Oh, and here's the Siegmund Klein press. I showed it a few videos back. I've been doing this as like a dynamic stretch warm-up. So the legs are straight. You're taking your hand to the opposing side. And really, I'm just getting a torso, a hip, a piriformis stretch with this. But also, all of that aside, I just like it. I just really enjoy this move. So yeah, you shoot your butt back. You take your hand down the opposing leg. I'm pretty bendy, so you don't have to go that deep to get the exact same effect. But give it a shot, man. I think you'd like it. And speaking of which, at the end of this video, I'm going to include a little tutorial on how to get into a deep squat. I've been getting a lot of questions, comments, concerns about getting into a deep ass to grass position. Full disclosure, I am a reformed yoga teacher. That's what I did athletically for like 10 years before I got on this weightlifting kick. So, like, my squat's gonna be deep, Like my squat depth is limited by the shape of my bones, not by anything muscularly. So please take my suggestions with a grain of salt. That being said, I think I got some tips for you, and I'm going to tag it on here at the end of this video. You'll find it at like the 6:40 mark. What else? Yeah, I don't mean to be cavalier about the subscriber thing. Certainly 200 is a milestone and a surprise to me. I think I'm going to do a DIY sandbag for my 250 subscribers. So I'll take you into Home Depot and I'll build my first home sandbag with you. And I like creating gym equipment out of garbage, because that stuff is so expensive. And a lot of it, like my sled, which is just an old tire and a rope, you don't need. Like commercial gym sleds cost $1,000. You don't need that. Like, a tire will work. It'll work great. And yeah, I think I can make a sandbag. I got a pretty good idea. So I guess we could all look forward to that. Here I am in front squats. I've been complaining the last 2 days. I still feel like warmed over turds. But this is 150 and 155, excuse me. So it's 5 pounds over my daily minimum. And honestly, it felt good. One of the weird experiences I've been having being sick and lifting is none of the reps feel good. But as the weight gets heavier, it's easier. And I think that is because my nervous system kind of like is forced to organize. It goes into a little bit of a survival mode. So I jumped it to 165, just one rep. You know, a lot of you are a lot stronger than me. So a 165 pound front squat is nothing to really celebrate by comparison. But this is hard for me on a good day, you know? And it moved. I mean, it, like, neurologically, in the bottom of this squat, I was really dialed in. I got a little bit of that newborn baby deer leg. But yeah, and that's it. Stay tuned for my deep squat tutorial. This is Joe in real life. Thank you guys so much. I love you. Be kind to each other today.
Not bad for a sick boy.
I'm gonna do my part to do the same.
Okay, look at my beard. Bonus feature, how to get into a deep squat. And first I want to say I'm going to try and do this quickly. I'm going to try and do it in one take. And I'm not scripting anything because I never will. So you'll forgive me if I stumble bum through this a little bit. If you're having trouble getting into a deep squat position, it's usually for one of 3 reasons. You might have an ankle mobility issue. You might have a lower back issue, meaning, and when I say lower back, I mean lower back posterior hip complex issue. And what was the third reason? Oh, you might just be scared, right? And that's not a trivial one, you know? It's like, I'm not calling you a puss boy here. I'm saying like, you're not accustomed to getting into that position, so your nervous system is sending you fear signals because it doesn't recognize it as safe. So that's the bad news. The good news is all 3 of these problems are really fixable. Let's start with the ankles. So it might be that you have an issue with extending your knees past your toes, a la Ben Patrick. The good news is you don't really need to extend your knees past your toes very far. And anyway, I have a simple position to check this out with. It will require a kettlebell and a floor, your feet. Also, look at my carpet, right? This is an old used carpet and it's the best yoga mat I've ever owned. And I'm a yoga teacher. So Lululemons are good. But old carpets are amazing. So let me see if I can get this position right, okay? So yeah, here we are, right? We want our feet roughly hip distance apart. You gotta play with it a little bit. Your toes can fan out. I'm working on straightening my feet a little bit, so I'm gonna get into that position. And here I am in a deep squat. We're gonna work on our breath, right? We're leaning forward, we're hunching over. This is not a structurally perfect position. And that doesn't matter because we're just trying to get accustomed to the shape, right? The first thing I want you to do is find a breath in and out through the nose. Go slow. That probably sounds like some yogi bullshit. Like, why do I need to do that? Your breath is a metric. We're using breath to help us understand when we're in questionable positions. So, in and out through the nose, in. And just hang on to that, right? What that will do is when you're in a tough position, but it's not a painful position, your breathing rhythm will break and you'll notice it. So like you want to pay attention to these hints and clues as we move through this, as we move through things, you know? Like that's the whole point of pranayama, breath work, is that we have an audible clue to when things might be beginning to be problematic. We're not just relying on pain. So anyway, malasana, our low squat position. And if you have ankle problems, you might be finding this really stressful. Just being down here, you might feel your toes beginning to go numb. You might feel some pain in your tibia. You know, what's that? Tibialis anterior, yeah? So we take 30 seconds here, roughly 8 to 10 breaths, 5 to 10 breaths. And then after that, what I'd like you to do is find your handy dandy kettlebell. I'm using my little sweetie today, 15. And all we're gonna do is hold it in front of us like a goblet squat position, right? And I want you to straighten your back on an inhale, get as tall as you can, and rock forward, right? Now, potentially you're feeling this more in your adductors, and that's okay. It just means that that's a limiting factor before we get into the ankles too much, right? Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But all I want you to do here is play with this position. Use your elbows on your thighs, kind of lean forward, lift your heels a little bit if you need to, you know? And just explore the shape. Bias one leg over the other, create tension, and rock back into the other one, you know? Then after a minute or so of this, put the kettlebell down. Recheck your position. Do another round. Do 2, do 3 if you like. I have a car leaving. That's okay. I would recommend practicing that even if you don't have ankle problems, 5 minutes every other day. Reps and sets. You don't have to stay in the shape the whole time. Teach your body to become accustomed to it. Make subtle demands of your body, and your body will respond, you know? Lower back and hip is a little more problematic. So, okay. One of the first things I'd like you to do is just a simple figure 4 posture. And my yogis out there would be like, why not just do pigeon? Pigeon's better. Pigeon's a pretty advanced posture. Like, a lot of people don't really recognize that because you go to a yoga class and really any teacher will throw a pigeon in there just willy-nilly. It's not so much that we can't get into the pigeon position, it's that it's pretty challenging to get in and out of it safely if you don't have that mobility. Flexibility and mobility are not the same thing. But, so anyway, onto our lower back hip complex, right? Same idea, we want to check the position first. And if you need a support to get yourself in a position, that's okay. We find our shape, toes fanning out, relaxed or rigid, it doesn't matter which. We play with it for 30 something seconds, and then we get down on our back. I'm trying to make sure I have this right. Okay, good. Take your right leg, put it above them, put your foot above your knee. Active foot, active leg, lower back flat against the ground, and then you just take your hands and interlace them behind the opposing thigh and move it towards you. So you could feel this potentially in 1,000 different areas. It's going to vary between users a great deal. You want somewhere in the ballpark of 10 breaths, 30 to 45 seconds, and then switch. I would recommend repeating this 2 or 3 rounds. And really, that's all I'm going to give you for this today. The homework is the same as the homework for the ankle, right? All you want is roughly 5 minutes of squat position every other day or so. In a week's time, you will accumulate more than enough stretching to see progress. You really will. And after you do that,
get back in your squat. See, right away, my feet are all, like, I've already worked out today, and my feet are straighter just from that little bit of lazy stretching. I'm in a deeper position, using my breath, playing with it. Use your breath in the figure 4 stretch too, especially if you're feeling any sharp spots. Really try to do a controlled, measured breath and move into those uncomfortable positions. The third one's really easy, and I only have one addition to it, right? So you can see here, I've hung this stupid band from my rack. Yeah? So, the third problem was fear, right? You might just be afraid because it's not a position you're in very often. And you can use anything. You can use the side of the couch. You could use the bars of your rack. You could use a wall. You could use a banister. And all you're going to do is, with control, lower yourself into that squat position and try to get comfortable with it, right? You might be having an emotional reaction to the shape your body's making, okay? So use your breath again. See at what point you're really struggling and try to get into that spot and slow your breath down and take ownership of this shape. Why I use a band for stuff like this when I'm coaching people is because it has some give, it has some play, and you can explore with a little more detail with a band. So here, I'll just show you really quick, right? The tension is variable and the position is variable. So yeah, look, all I'm doing is holding in front of me. I'm getting my feet in position. I'm lowering myself with control into the squat, yeah? And then I can hang out here. If I feel like I'm getting in trouble, I pull on the band. I take some slack out of it. I help myself, you know? And if I'm really getting scared, I'm really getting freaked out, I use the band and elevate her up. Fear's not a trivial thing, you know? It's every bit a real limiting factor as the ankle or the lower back hip. And yeah, you should take it seriously and you should treat it seriously, you know? I think that's it, guys. Hey, thank you so much for 200 subscribers. This was a dumb little tutorial about how to get into a deeper squat. I have more ideas. If your problems are more specific or a little atypical, leave a comment. I'll happily talk you through it to the best of my ability. You know, I'm by no stretch a professional. Anyway, this is Joe in real life. I love you guys. Be good to each other today.